Good morning. This is The Way to a Wonderful Life. Please know with me now, right now, there is a power within you. It is the Christ within you, and it can lift your life to its highest level. It can change illness into health. It can bring peace amidst turmoil. It can bring success out of failure and victory out of defeat. It can bring companionship and happiness out of loneliness. It responds to you. For this is the power that dwells within you, and so it is. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning for The Way to a Wonderful Life. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California, teaching from the philosophy of the Mastermind Jesus and the wisdom of the ancients found in the evolutionary science of mind. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. For more information about this ministry, please visit www.revbates.tv or www.revbatesontheradio.org. You can also find me on youtube.com by going to youtube.com and putting in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, and you'll find over 80 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. Now, this is a healing and teaching ministry where we go beyond religion and we focus on those simple yet profound universal healing principles given to us by the Mastermind Jesus so that we can believe in our prayer and the answer to it, for we believe and we know that God responds to us by corresponding to our faith and our belief that with God, all good things are possible. With God, all good things are possible. Now, you can send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program, and you can also send a faith offering in support of this radio ministry, and you can do that from the website www.revbates.tv or www.revbatesontheradio.org, or you can mail those to Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, that's P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. Once again, that's P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. And you can leave me a message in the Los Angeles area at 818-476-0088 or in Palm Springs at 760-778-5677. Once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live, and for a full radio schedule of The Way to a Wonderful Life, you can go to www.revbatesontheradio.org and find all the listings where you can listen to this program throughout the week. Once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life, and our Way to a Wonderful Life message for today is titled, Magnifying the Spirit of Opulence. Magnifying the Spirit of Opulence. This week we're going to continue to review spiritual principles that will nurture and foster financial prosperity, prosperous health, and prosperous happiness, and the joy of the Lord felt radiantly through our heart, our mind, and our soul, or whatever it is that we desire to experience that increases our sense of living the way to a wonderful life today and every day. Each and every one of us have the opportunity to every day, to give our attention to God. When Jesus said, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and equally important, love your neighbor as yourself, he was saying, give your attention to the good. Give your attention to that which is wonderful and that which is beautiful. Give your attention to God, because God is the power, God is the Spirit, and God is the intelligence that moves through everything. It is a living spirit within you and within all living things, So give your attention to that which is wonderful and good, that which is marvelous, and that which is going to bring forth into your life experience more joy, more happiness, more love, and more peace, more prosperity, more increase in health, and all the wonderful things that make this thing called life the gift that it is. So often we have learned in life that as we come into this world, our mind is open and receptive to so many things that are false ideas about life. We've learned that life is a test. It's not a test. Life is a gift. It is a gift. Open the gift. Open the gift within your own mind, within your own heart, within your own soul. As Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, not low here or low there. Go within your mind and find that thing that makes you feel great about life, that makes you feel that life is wonderful, and feel yourself being inspired and encouraged to have enthusiasm for this thing called life. And let's go to the Gospel of Matthew. This is Matthew 6:6, and we're talking about Jesus' prayers answered according to our belief. Jesus said, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet. And what is the closet he's referring to? He's referring to our inner mind, our thoughts and our imagining, those things that we dwell on. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. So what is he saying when he says, when thou hast shut thy door? He's saying when we have left all the noise and nonsense of the world, when we have left the problem out of our mind, and we know that in God there is a solution, in God there is an increase, in God there's all good, that in God there's our all in all that we can imagine for ourselves, an increase in health, an increase in wealth, an increase in joy and happiness, an increase in feeling good about this thing called life. That's all in God. So when we shut that door, when thou hast shut thy door, if we don't shut the door to the world, then we're going to continue to be in the world and not of the world. So Jesus said, be in the world, but not of the world. So shut that door out of the world, to the world, and let yourself become part of that otherworldly, that part of the Spirit, that feeling, and know you're in the presence of God, and realize that as you are in the presence of God, that God will listen not only to your words, God will listen not only to your thoughts, God will listen not only and take heed of the images that run through your mind, that God will listen to your heart. What we want to impress on our mind from these instructions from the Mastermind Jesus is when thou hast shut thy door, when we have entered into the closet of our mind in the stillness of thought and imaginings and convinced ourselves that nothing of the world has any power and that all power is of God, that what we see in the world is but only a part of what our reality is. It's a part of what our reality is. The wholeness of our reality is both the seen and the unseen. That which we can see, hear, feel, taste, and touch, and that which we claim in faith and belief. Our faith is the evidence, underlying evidence of the unseen. And this evidence is the image likeness that we foster and nurture in our mind as true for us. What is it that we hold to be true for us? When we go about our day, how do we see ourselves? How do we speak? What are the words that come out of our mouth? Are the words that come out of our mouth mighty and marvelous, or are the words that come out of our mouth things that diminish us and hold us to the limitations that we have learned from the world? Let's open our mind to the infinite. Let's open our mind to the infinite good. Let's open our mind to the abundant life. As Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and that you may have it more abundantly. Let's begin to believe those words, and let's know and let's understand that he was speaking to us. All the great mystics throughout the Bible, Isaiah, Moses, all of them were speaking to us personally. When we personalize those words to us, recognize them as the principle of life, recognize them as the words coming through the inspiration of the intelligence and the spirit and the power of God through the lips of man. From Thomas Troward, who said the most important book we will ever study, he said the most important book we will ever study, this is Thomas Troward or Troward, some people say Troward, Wayne Dyer says Troward, Thomas Troward, from his book, The Hidden Power, The Spirit of Opulence, he said the Bible is the most important book we will ever study, underline study in your mind. He didn't say read it and go on about your day just like you didn't read it, or listen to what other people have to say about it, because everybody's going to feel free to offer you their opinions on it, but you must study it so that the Holy Spirit can move through your mind, move through your heart, and move through your soul, and bring to you what it means for you personally. So from Thomas Troward we can read, we must not make ourselves dependent on any particular form of wealth or insist on its coming to us through some particular channel. In other words, don't make the demand that you have to get your prosperity from some person, place, or thing. You may have to go into another job, work for another company. You may get money from somebody that you never even imagined you'd get money from. If your mind is open and receptive to the infinite impulse that will compel whatever it is from the far ends of the universe is necessary to bring forth into your experience that which is your increase. So he tells us, do not insist on it coming to you from some particular channel that is at once to impose a limitation and to shut out other forms of wealth and to close other channels in which we may be prospered. But we must enter into the spirit of it. Now, the spirit is life, and throughout the universe, life ultimately consists in circulation, whether within the physical body of the individual or on the scale of the entire solar system. And circulation means a continual flowing around, and the spirit of opulence is no exception to this universal law of all life. This is the law of all life, as explained by Jesus as the law of God. That was from the great judge Thomas Troward. The point where so many of us fail to realize our answered prayer is the point where our disbelief enters in. We want to see it to believe it. We want to know where our good, our wealth, our money is going to come from. We don't know, for our mind does not contain the infinite ways in which the intelligence of God operates. We don't know, so quit thinking about where it's going to come from and just know that it does. And I'm reminded of the Maharishi Yogi when he was in, Maharishi Maher, I can't remember his last name actually. He was building this big compound in Iowa. This was many years ago, several years ago, less than 20 though. And he was having a board meeting, and they had all these architectural plans, and they realized how much money it was all going to cost. And one of the board members said, and where's the money going to come from? And the Maharishi said, from wherever it is now, from wherever it is now. Don't allow ourselves to limit the infinite. Don't allow ourselves to limit the spirit. We cannot know. We have not the infinite knowledge, the infinite intelligence of the Almighty. God is the one that doeth the work. Jesus said, it is the Father that doeth the work. The Father works, and then I work, and then I take this thing and I use it for the good. And as we read in the book of Ecclesiastes 11:5, as thou knowest not what is the way of the wind, as thou knowest not what is the way of the wind, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the work of God who doeth all. Even so thou knowest not the work of God who doeth all. And so this is why our responsibility lies only in convincing ourselves through faith and the elimination of disbelief in our mind and thoughts to see ourselves having it. Pray knowing that you have, Jesus said. And he could have added, don't concern yourself with how it will come, but just know that it is so at the moment you accept it as true for you. And so we must ask ourselves, what do I believe to be the truth about me and for me, or what is the image likeness do I hold in my mind and thoughts about myself? Because it is that image likeness that we hold in our mind about ourselves that this infinite presence, power, and spirit will respond to, just as gravity responds precisely and automatically to our physical movements. The spirit will respond to that which we hold to be true about ourselves. So let's continue on with some more from Thomas Troward when he writes, when once this principle becomes clear to us, we shall see that our attention should be directed rather to the giving than the receiving. We must look upon ourselves not as misers to be kept locked for our own benefit, but as centers of distribution, and the better we fulfill our function as such centers, the greater will be the corresponding inflow. If we choke the outlet, the current must slacken, and a full and free flow can be obtained only by keeping it open. The spirit of opulence, the opulent mode of thought, that is, consists in cultivating the feeling that we possess all sorts of riches which we can bestow upon others and which we can bestow liberally, because by this very action we open the way for still greater supplies to flow in. Each and every one of us must get our mind around this. We must get it. If we don't get it, we're not going to get that thing that we pray for, hope for, that we live for. We're not going to get it. No, let's get it. Let us know that we receive the answers to our prayers and know that we have it. And what are we doing now that we have it? What are we going to do? Most of us are going to share that which we have received, whether it be a financial increase, a greater success, increased health and happiness, or more peace of mind. We shall share it, for it is our nature to do so, and in doing so, we are letting our light so shine, as Jesus said, that is, letting our divine nature cast its glow upon those around us. We must remind ourselves that no matter what we do with our increase, we are always a center of distribution. As we live in the divine circulation, we know that if we purchase a car, a home, or some new furniture or clothes, are prospering others as we circulate this increase we have received. But there is a responsibility here. There is a responsibility here to be made in consciousness. We must consciously recognize that we are doing so and identify ourselves as the giver, giving to others each time we pay a bill, each time we make a purchase, each time we make a deposit in the bank. Others are all prospering with us as we do these things. But we must be conscious that this is so. We must know that that bill that we're paying, that bill that goes out to the electric company, is not only paying for that electricity that we use, it's also paying for that building. It's paying for those people that work there. It's paying for the people that work in advertising. It's paying for the people that work in television and radio stations that are employed because of the advertising. That is putting us into the divine circulation, and as we recognize it consciously and identify that we are part of the divine circulation, we know that as we freely give and we pay these things with joy and happiness, pay these things with gratitude that we have the money to do it, that money will come back to us in some way, shape, or form if we don't limit the way in which it can come. But we must get the limits out of our mind. That's why Jesus said, when you pray, go into your closet and shut the door. When you have shut the door, that means when you have shut out the limits, when you have shut out the limitations, when you have shut out that thinking of where is it going to come from? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do now? When you shut out the desperation, when you shut out the helplessness and the feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, when you shut that out, that good idea, that good opportunity will open up for you. So we got some more here from the great Thomas Troward. He writes, I love anybody that loves the Bible. I believe as Thomas Troward did, that we must study the Bible. Bible. We must study it, because throughout history, people have used that Bible to abuse people. They've used that Bible to take power over people. They've used that Bible to tell people how to live, even though they themselves don't know how to live. So we must learn to study it, and find those universal principles, find those things that were the same yesterday as they will be today and tomorrow and forever, because those are the universal principles. Those are the principles that Jesus is always guiding us to, always directing us to throughout his teachings. So Thomas Troward writes, "But you say, I am short of money. I hardly know how to pay for necessaries. What have I to give?" The answer is that we must always start from the point where we are, and if your wealth at the present moment is not abundant or in the material plane, you need not trouble to start on that plane. There are other sorts of wealth still more valuable on the spiritual and intellectual planes which you can give. And you can start from this point and practice the spirit of opulence, even though your balance at the bank may be nil. And then the universal law of attraction, which is the law of sowing and reaping, as Jesus explained it, will begin to assert itself, You will not only begin to experience an inflow on the spiritual and intellectual planes, but it will extend itself to the material plane as well. In other words, we shall always have something to give, something to share, and in this fostering in our mind that we do, we magnify our sense of being generous, our sense of being a giver. We all can have a smile for everyone. We all have an infinite capacity for patience, whether we believe it or not, and we all have an infinite capacity for kindness towards everyone, whether we believe it or not, and we can all pray for peace on earth, knowing that all will be included in this peace, and that is a givingness of our spirit. That is the givingness of the gifts of the Spirit. Anytime we show the joy and the happiness and the peace, anytime we are happy and we're lively about our personality around people, and we lift them up and make them feel good and encourage them, we're giving. We're a giver. We must realize that it is our inherent nature to give. It is our divine nature to give, and so we must give, and we must not be concerned about where our good comes from or where our good goes to. Don't worry about the people around you. That's why Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Don't concern yourself about the race of your neighbor, the color of your neighbor, the religion of your neighbor, your creed of your neighbor, the sexual orientation of your neighbor, the nationality of your neighbor, or whether your neighbor speaks English or not, or whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. Just keep your mind focused on the good and realize that God is the living spirit within all living things. And when you honor anyone, when you're friendly to anyone, when we share your joy and your love with anyone, you're sharing it with God, and that shall return to you multiplied abundantly. Dr. Robert Bitzer taught that the way to provide an avenue. Dr. Robert Bitzer founded the Hollywood Church on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. Dr. Robert Bitzer taught that the way to provide an avenue for increase is to recognize what use we are going to make of it. How will we use our increase? Not just our financial increase, but the spirit of generosity that we begin to realize in our life experience. How will we treat other people? Will we allow ourselves to feel superior to those who are still struggling, or to those who have not, or will realize that good life yet? Will we allow ourselves to believe that somehow we're privileged and entitled, and that people who are still struggling in poverty and people who are still struggling in need are not somehow among the privileged and entitled that we are? Will we fear losing that which we have, or think we have less each time we spend money or give from the abundance that we have received? That's not in the spirit of generosity, and that is not in the spirit of opulence. Freely you have received, freely you are to give is the principle that the mastermind Jesus gave us, and so we must establish within our consciousness the willingness to give, and to give freely and generously of that which we have received. And so it says, we are not called upon to give what we have not got and run into debt, but we are to give liberally of what we have, with the knowledge that by doing so, we are setting the law of circulation to work, and as this law brings us greater and greater inflows of every kind of good, so our outgiving will increase. not by depriving ourselves of any expansion in our own life that we may desire, but by finding that every expansion makes us more powerful instruments for expanding the life of others. And in doing so, we magnify the spirit of opulence, and it shall remain established within our heart, our mind, and our soul. We don't want to just be having all that we want today. We want all that we want every day. We want to know, we want to believe that as Jesus said, our Father, which art in heaven, that means that idea of the belief and that relationship I have with God in mind will give us this day our daily bread, and that daily bread is always enough to share and to spare. Always enough to share and to spare. And so we magnify the spirit of opulence, and it remains established within our heart, our mind, and our soul, and we find that this is the way to a wonderful life that we can experience beginning right now and every day with what we have already received. So let's just know together that God is my life. Let's say it together. God is my life, and my life is good. God is my life, and my life is good. Every time I turn around, God is blessing me. Let's just bring it into our mind, bring it into our heart, magnify the spirit of opulence with the vitality and the animation of the spirit within us. Start realizing that this spirit within us is seeking expansion through us, seeking more knowledge, more love, more joy, more happiness, more peace. It's seeking all these things. God is your life. The living spirit of God reigns supreme in your heart, your mind, and your soul as you just shut out the world and shut out the opinions of those who don't even understand that God is the active spirit of life. God is the living spirit in all things, that God is that image and likeness within us that we call the Christ within us, and it will strengthen us. It will give us all things necessary. It will guide us and direct us to take dominion and authority over the things that concern us so that we can bless not only ourselves, but bless all of those who are fortunate enough to come into our life. Once again, I want to thank you for being here today. This has been my great pleasure to have you, and I hope you join me for my next broadcast right here on KTYM, AM 1460 radio, and at www.ktym.com worldwide. Please go to www.revbates.tv or Rev Bates on the radio.org and make a tithe, a faith offering, a donation to this radio ministry, and you can do that with your ATM card, your credit card, or your checking account through the PayPal secure payment system, or you can mail those donations, tithes, faith offerings, love offerings in support of this radio ministry to Rev-Henry Bates. That's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173. That's P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. And as you give, you know that you're giving to yourself, and you let yourself be conscious that you're in that circulation of life that Jesus talked about. And as we freely give, we freely receive, and we can be conscious and know that as we plant this seed tithe, this seed faith offering into the consciousness, that into the spirit, that it will return to us multiplied abundantly. Once again, this has been The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. This program was not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. You can go to youtube.com for more information about this ministry, and you can put in the search box at youtube.com, put in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, and you'll find over 80 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. Once again, I want to invite you to go to Rev Bates on the radio.org, and you can see my full radio schedule. This radio program is broadcast 7 days a week, 9 times a week, and so you can find find something somewhere where you can listen to this radio program. If not available in your area, you can go to youtube.com, as I said, and you can select one of those over 80 radio broadcasts that are available to listen to 24/7. Once again, I want to remind you that the translations of my weekly messages on RevBates.tv are available in Spanish and Italian, that Raul Feliciano Sanchez of Houston, Texas. I'm grateful to him for the Spanish translations, and I'm grateful for Liliana Grande for the Italian translations. Once again, this is Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates affirming that God is blessing us. God is blessing us when we say within ourselves, and we believe it to be true, that God is my life, and all the words that come from my mouth are mighty and marvelous, as I speak the truth for me and for everyone. Today and every day, I'm exalting in the power, exalting in the Spirit, exalting in the presence and the intelligence of God. And as Jesus said, I am willing to let my light so shine. I am willing to let my light so shine that all people can see that I am glorifying God in all that I do. And from the book of Ecclesiastes, we learn not to worry as we realize, as thou knowest not what is the way of the wind,